In this video, we're diving into autistic physicality. You've probably heard about things like the autistic stare, or maybe you've seen videos about special interests or sensory overload. But how about how autistic bodies move? Let's unpack one of the most misunderstood aspects of autism, sometimes called the T-Rex arms, and a few of the fascinating lesser-known physical traits, maybe even scoliosis, that often show up in autistic people. Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. If I could please ask you to like, subscribe and tap the notification bell. It really helps our channel and our community grow. Beyond the stereotypes, unpacking autistic physicality. When people think of autism, they often picture social or communication differences, not posture of movement. But autism isn't just a social or behavioral profile, it's a whole body experience. So the so-called T-Rex arms, where someone keeps their arms bent close to their chest, especially when walking or standing, can sometimes be seen in autistic individuals, and it's often misunderstood. This isn't about making fun or diagnosing based on how someone moves. It's about understanding the spectrum of autistic experience, which includes the physical ways our brains and bodies connect, the science and theories behind the movement. So why might some autistic people hold or move their arms differently? Number one, neurological underpinnings. It could be related to how our brains handle motor planning and sensory processing. For many autistic people, movement doesn't always happen automatically. It takes conscious effort. So when your brain's wiring processes movement, balance, and spatial awareness differently, it can show up in posture or gait. Number two, proprioception and body awareness. Proprioception is our sense of where our body is in space, and for many autistic people, that sense can be inconsistent. If your brain's feedback about where your limbs are isn't crystal clear, you might hold your arms in a way that feels safe or stable. For some, that happens to look like the T-Rex arm posture. Elbows tucked in, forearms bent, ready to move, but grounded in that familiar position. Number three, beyond a single cause. It's probably not one single thing. It's likely a combination of sensory processing differences, muscle tone, balance, and comfort. Every autistic person's body moves a little differently, and that's part of the neurodiversity within the spectrum. More than just about the arms, other lesser-known physical traits. So let's talk about a few other physical differences that often fly under the radar. Gait and movement patterns. Some autistic people walk a little differently, maybe with shorter steps, a bouncy rhythm, or a subtle sway. It's not wrong, it's simply how our brains and bodies coordinate movement. Sensory seeking and avoidance. Physicality is closely tied to sensory needs. If someone is sensory seeking, they might flap, rock, or bounce because their body needs that input. If they're sensory avoidant, they might move stiffly or keep limbs close to minimize sensations from the environment. Facial expressions and eye contact. We can't talk about movement without mentioning this, because expression is movement too. For example, I was told growing up that I made people feel uncomfortable because I would stare at them while they talked. Now, I consciously plan my eye contact. I stare, look away quickly, and then go back to looking again. But honestly, I'm still not getting it quite right. It's not about rudeness or lack of empathy. It's just how my brain naturally processes visual and social information. Apologies if this looks different. I just had to film it on another day because I lost the footage for this little section. So I'm refilming it. So we're talking about autism, hypermobility, and body regulation. You know, while I was researching autism and physical traits, I came across something really interesting, the connection between autism and hypermobility, and even little things like autonomic nervous system differences. A lot of autistic people mention being double jointed or hypermobile, meaning their joints move beyond the typical range. And I've noticed this in myself and in quite a few people in the autistic community. For some, it's just a neat party trick, like bending your fingers back a little further than most people can. But for others, it can mean things like joint pain, fatigue, or feeling unstable when standing or walking. Researchers are still trying to figure out exactly why hypermobility seems to show up a little more often in autistic people. One theory is that it could be linked to connective tissue differences, which affect not only just our joints, but also our digestion, blood pressure, and sensory regulation. And that brings me to another area that really clicked for me, the autonomic nervous system. This is the part of our body that controls things like heart rate, temperature, and blood flow. Basically, all of the autonomic stuff we don't consciously think about. But in autistic people, it can behave a little differently. For example, I'll get dizzy for what seems like no reason at all. One minute I'm fine, and the next I feel lightheaded or like the room just tilted a bit. It's not anxiety or dehydration, it's just how my body reacts sometimes. And overheating. That's a really big one for me. I can overheat all of a sudden, even in mild weather. I actually have to carry a fan with me everywhere I go because my body doesn't always regulate temperature properly. And it's like my internal thermostat goes, nope, you're melting, and you're melting now. And when that happens, it can take a long time for my body to cool down again. At first I thought it was just a me thing, but when I started reading more and talking to other autistic people, I realized it's incredibly common. Some even experience what's called dysautonomia, where your body's automatic functions don't quite balance right. It can make you feel tired, dizzy, flushed, or shaky, especially after standing a while or during sensory overload. It really highlights how autism isn't just about communication or behaviour. It's about how our entire body functions and responds to the world. Our nervous system, our joints, even our temperature control, it's all connected. And understanding that connection helps me have more compassion for my body instead of frustration. Because sometimes it's not about being unfit or overreacting, it's just how my autistic body works. For me personally, the T-Rex arms show up most clearly when I sleep. I'll nod off with my arms bent tightly against my chest, like I'm in a little cocoon. It's just where my body naturally goes to feel safe and calm. And then there's another physical trait that I have, scoliosis. Now this is still being researched, so it's not 100%. In the general population, scoliosis affects about 2 to 3% of adolescents. But research from the Autism Research Institute suggests that scoliosis may occur in up to 20% of autistic individuals. So that's nearly 10 times higher. Researchers are still trying to understand why. Is it related to muscle tone differences, postural habits, neurological development? We don't know yet, but it's fascinating and it shows how interconnected our brains and bodies really are. I've actually linked a NeuroLaunch article into the description that goes into even more detail about scoliosis and autism. It's a really interesting read if you want to dive deeper into the research side. All 3 of my children are autistic, and even within my own family, you can see how diverse the physical side of autism really is. One of my kids struggles with coordination. He can literally trip over nothing, while another one has great coordination and balance. It's such a perfect example of how autism isn't just one fixed experience. The same diagnosis can look completely different even in the same family. Challenging misconceptions. Unfortunately, traits like these, whether it's the way we hold our arms, how we walk, or how we make eye contact, are often judged harshly by the neurotypical society. People might interpret them as awkward, unnatural, or uncomfortable, when really these movements are just our body language. It's not about lack of control, it's about different wiring, different ways of regulating, expressing, and navigating the world. Number 1, shifting perspectives. Instead of seeing these traits as something to fix, we can view them as part of the rich tapestry of human neurodiversity. They tell a story about how diverse, adaptive, and creative our bodies can be. Number 2, the importance of research. There's still so much we don't know about autistic physicality. Ongoing research is helping to bridge the gap between neuroscience and lived experience. And the more we learn, the more compassionate we can become. Number 3, empowering understanding. If you notice someone moving or holding themselves differently, pause before judging. That person's body might just be communicating in a way you haven't learned to recognize yet. Autism is more than how we think or communicate. It's how we move through the world. And when we understand that, we move closer to true acceptance. If you found this interesting, please give it a like, subscribe, and tap the notification bell. And share it with someone who might relate. And let me know in the comments, have you ever noticed these kinds of movements in yourself or someone you know? Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.